Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Eddie, once again with a brand new episode of Eddie G's Comic Culture, sponsored by the one and only Black Apparel. Once again, shouting them out for all the wonderful contributions they've made towards the show. The work that they've been doing is phenomenal. Make sure you check out their website at www.blackapparelblk.com. They got some awesome merchandise as well as some great content for you guys to look at. And sending a special shout out once again to my friends on Instagram, the Strictly Comedy Vault, who's got some good content on his page as well. If you have an account, make sure you check him out. He's also been putting up some cool stuff regarding the Funko Pop figures. So make sure you give him a look see whenever you get a chance, and as well as Blu-ray Dan, who also has an Instagram page as well, and also a YouTube channel that's worth checking out. The man does a lot of insightful reviews on Blu-rays, both old and new. And if you ever have the opportunity, make sure you check him out as well. So today I wanted to discuss the recent news that's been coming out surrounding Star Wars this week. Apparently, Episode 9 has lost its director, Colin Trevorrow. The He was supposed to be directing Episode 9, if I'm actually, and this was announced, I believe, yesterday. I wanted to make sure that everything was okay before I'd actually made a video posting that announcement. Supposedly, Lucasfilm had followed up today with the announcement that apparently they did mutually decided to part ways. Colin Trevorrow has pretty much he's directed the only one thing that I've actually known about him that I haven't even, and I'm sorry that I haven't seen it yet. He was the director of Jurassic World. I didn't get to see that movie, honestly. To be quite, and in my defense, I kind of lost the interest in the Jurassic Park features for quite some time now. And particularly so with the rise of the kaiju films being produced in America regarding Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, not to mention the upcoming King of the Monsters sequel, and then of course we will be having Godzilla versus King Kong. So those two movies I'm definitely more interested in, and plus Pacific Rim Uprising as well. So it's been a while since I've actually given any kind of afterthought to any of the Jurassic Park features. The first one will always remain a classic to me, of course. Steven Spielberg the man is a legend, and I highly, I very rarely do I have any doubts regarding him as a director. So with that being said, it's kind of strange that this is actually happening a few months before Episode 8's release, The Last Jedi. It's a little strange, but I guess whatever happened happened, and it is what it is. Apparently, there was some sort of speculation as to the release of Colin Trevorrow for. He had a movie that was by the name of The Book of Emmanuel, and for some reason it's been universally panned by critics and pretty much bombed at the box office as well. As you guys know, Jurassic World actually scored over $1 billion at the box office when it was released. So to have that, and then to have like a nosedive on another movie like that, I guess kind of I don't know if it really put things into perspective with Lucasfilm to make a decision to release him or God knows what. But hey, it is what it is. Hopefully, all goes well for him in the future. But they did hit us off with a few stills that's been released apparently from Episode 8, The Last Jedi. It's pretty awesome considering the movie's not too far away at all. It's a little strange that we're getting all these high def stills being released throughout social media and other comic book movie websites as well, and it leaves me very much so with a lot of curiosity with what's going to happen. I'm dying to see this movie because I loved The Force Awakens for what it's worth. I think that it's one of the best Star Wars films out there. It's definitely an honorable follow up to the original trilogy. Um, but it did leave a lot of it left some questions for me that I had to ask, and of course, not a lot of I guess there may be quite a few of you out there that have the same questions as well. Uh, for starters, I didn't appreciate exactly how when Episode 7 was being marketed and the trailer was released and so on and so forth, it gave the impression that Luke Skywalker was actually heavily involved in the movie. Actually, the first trailer was Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker voicing over the entire trailer. And for that being said, spoiler alert, for that being said, to have Luke Skywalker solely appear at the end of the movie at the very last moment was pretty disturbing and and kind of depressing because I was just at that point where we reeling from the death of Han Solo and I wanted to see the original cast regardless of what the circumstances were in the movie. I wanted to see the original cast in a film somehow. At some point, I wanted to see them together, and I didn't get that. And it kind of ticked me off at that because I was just waiting for so long, and in particularly so after the prequel trilogies, Star Wars needed something honorable to be done to the entire saga. As you guys know, episodes 1 through 3. If you were a fan of the original trilogy, the prequels really didn't do anything for you. You pretty much were highly disappointed if you were a fan. I know I don't speak for every one of us. I don't speak for all fans, of course, of the original trilogy who saw the prequels as well. But there's quite a large percentage of us who were highly disappointed over the prequels for the Star Wars prequels, and so that being said, I wanted to see exactly what was going to happen, and like I said, and regarding the it being an honorable follow up, it definitely is an honorable follow up to the original trilogy. But as I said, it just did leave some questions behind, and in particularly so not just with Luke Skywalker. Why was there no mention of Emperor Palpatine throughout the entire movie as well? That was a little strange. I mean, there was obvious references to Darth Vader with Kylo Ren, and it really kind of like it really made zero sense as to why Vader was mentioned and referenced in the film, but Palpatine wasn't. So I'm hoping to see exactly what's going to happen with that, and as well as finding out Supreme Leader Snoke, what's his background, who is he, and because he seems to be very powerful within the dark side of the Force. I don't understand exactly why, and how come there was no mention of him, and where and if there was, well, what part of the galaxy, like was he hiding somewhere in the galaxy that the Emperor and Vader didn't sense him in the Force for some reason, but I definitely hope that they do touch up on his origins for Episode 8 as well. Um, but a lot of people have been hyping this up. There's quite a bit of hype surrounding this movie. Adam Driver, who plays Kylo Ren, actually went on to say that this movie, that Episode 8, is actually quite reminiscent. It's about as good as The Empire Strikes Back, and that's a hell of a comparison to make. Honestly speaking, Empire Strikes Back, as you guys all know, is the top Star Wars film of all time, and statistically speaking, it really is. Um, Considering all that's done, all that's happened, it's one of the best written films, one of the best acted films, and it's just it's really the top, it's really the top tier movie to live up to. Now, with that being said, um, I personally find Return of the Jedi to be my most favorite Star Wars feature. I prefer it over A New Hope and Empire, and the reason for that being is because of the dialogue and the chemistry, the on-screen chemistry between Luke and Vader always got to me in that movie. It was always one of the drawing points because when I saw it, and I remember I saw the original trilogy in theaters when George Lucas decided to. That was my first time ever seeing Star Wars, the original trilogy. My father had the entire trilogy on VHS for a long time, but when they did the re-release for the 20th anniversary in 1997 with the added-on scenes and special effects, that was my first time seeing all of them, and I saw all three films in theaters, and I fell in love with the saga then. And Return of the Jedi to me was that top tier Star Wars film for me, simply because of we all knew that I already knew that Vader was Luke's father from way back, even before I saw the movies. Of course, I just just wanted to see what was the driving force between them, the chemistry between them at Return of the Jedi. And one of the things was just that it was a very sentimental, it was very sentimental. It was the scenes, of course, were very deep, and between Vader and Luke, I believe in I think it was Endor that when Luke was finally surrendered himself in an attempt to try to speak with Vader and try to sway him from the dark side, and that scene where they actually kind of, where Vader actually, denies the light of the Force because he serves his master, which was Emperor Palpatine, of course, in the movie. Um, it really moved me, and especially so because it was, you finally see that Luke's acceptance of Vader being his father, and refusing to allow the dark side to just consume him completely was very much so a driving force. And then, of course, the final scene of the movie with Vader and Luke, where Vader finally removes his mask and wants to and tells Luke face to face exactly how correct he was, that he was right. That also that really just tugged at my heartstrings big time, and that's why I have to say that Return of the Jedi was always my favorite Star Wars film, no matter what. It's very deep. It's a very pivotal film, honestly, and the fall of the Empire, of course, occurs in this movie as well. Well, the supposed fall of the Empire, anyway, and it was a very touching movie, honestly. It really was. So I know a lot of people like to complain about the Ewoks inclusion of in the movie, but honestly, that really was. I found that to be very minuscule for me. I didn't really care. They weren't the make or break character for me in the movie at all. Like a lot of people have said. I mean, and considering the prequels, if you want to discuss an annoying inclusion to the movies, I only have one word. Well, excuse me, one name comes to mind: Jar Jar Binks. And in all honesty, with a character like that, I don't see exactly how any other side characters in the entire Star Wars saga can really piss anyone off as much as Jar Jar Binks did with me. I detested that character. I thought he was just a pathetic and useless character in the films and in the prequels. And thankfully, Lucas got the message that people hated that character's guts because his time was significantly cut in the next two features, which still didn't even save the rest of the prequel saga. Anyways, they were still horrible films, but nevertheless, they were still. I guess you could say they were entertaining to say the least. But yeah, it was always one of the main things as to what happens after Episode 6. What happens to the Empire? Um, did the Jedi School start? Does Luke start a Jedi School like in the books that followed after the movie as well? Um, which apparently wasn't the case in the Force Awakens. He just vanished, which was a little insane, but nevertheless, as it's pretty cool regardless. But I was really disappointed at the fact that he was only there. He only appeared at the very last scene of the movie. So I'm assuming that the Last Jedi is going to have is going to close a lot of those loopholes. I'm hoping that it does because and plus and a few things also that, like I said before, I hope it also, which I know I'm kind of wishing on a star for this one, but I'm hoping that they do kind of touch upon Emperor Palpatine in the Last Jedi, and and who knows? I mean, it's exciting to say the least. Maybe there's some sort of a connection between Palpatine and Emperor and Supreme Leader Snoke, but yeah. Not a bad. That's definitely the excitement is through the roof. I can't wait for the Last Jedi. So far Star Wars is seeming to make Christmas a lot more awesome now. Honestly speaking, I'm not. My favorite holiday, if anything, is Thanksgiving. Because I love food. So, just putting that out there. And yeah, let's wait and see for that. Also in today's in this week's news, I've noticed that Wonder Woman has passed another milestone. She's pretty much the highest grossing film of the summer. Um, this movie is the movie that keeps on ticking. I'm gonna be honest, man. This movie should be at least. This movie deserves. I'm sure that if the movie was to open more in international, in other, international in the international markets, because there were some restrictions regarding that as well. There were some countries that didn't play it for whatever. Well, we all know the reason why, but I won't go touching that. But I'm pretty sure that it could have. It was good enough to cross the $1 billion mark, but the fact that this movie has made over $400 million in the United States alone in the box office says something. This movie deserves every penny that it makes, and then some. It's a fantastic film. I know there's quite a few naysayers out there as well. I've seen them online. Honestly speaking, let go of that nonsense, guys, because this was a very, very excellent film. It was Wonder Woman left me emotionally invested. I love the sequences. I love the action sequences. Everything was done. Everything about this movie was superb. This movie to me was the outline of what the previous entries of the DCEU should have been. We all know this. We all know this. I'm sorry, but Zack Snyder has nothing on Patty Jenkins. As far as her directing skills, as far as directing skills are concerned, Zack Snyder has literally nothing on Patty Jenkins. That's not to say that Zack Snyder's not a, he has, that's not, that he's complete crap. I know a lot of people will tell you, definitely argue that, they will definitely contend that to the very end. Like, Zack Snyder's nothing but garbage. He's trash. But I think given, he just needs to have a good script in front of him, and he needs to have something cut. He needs to have a very strict outline. He has to be placed on a short leash, on a very short leash, because if you don't, he's the type of director who's looking to make a 3-hour film out of something that really shouldn't even be lasting that long, to be quite honest. But Patty Jenkins definitely did a superb job, outstanding job with this feature. I loved Wonder Woman. I think that I hope that and honestly speaking, I do believe that Wonder Woman was the gateway for what's happening now, even in Justice League, because the way the movie was made, and the signs were all there. Honestly speaking, even with the we all understand that. Snyder did have a personal tragedy, a family tragedy that that affected him and had him to step down. Which required him to step down from the project. And of course, they added Joss Whedon to fill in quite a bit of the blanks, because for him to have a writer's credit in the movie now, it makes a lot of it's he did something. He did quite a bit of work on the movie. You don't get a writer's credit for nothing just for putting in a page, or putting in a page of dialogue. If anything, I doubt that. So the fact that he's getting that kind of a credit on the feature, it makes me realize, it makes me actually come to the terms with the possible fact that the man had a lot more to deal with the film rather than just doing minor reshoots. But nevertheless, we have to wait and see for that as well, as the movie doesn't come out until November anyway. So, also, I wanted to touch up on Marvel's Inhumans. Well, apparently there seems to be some sort of friction going on Marvel. Apparently, ABC isn't too thrilled with the Inhumans reception so far, and frankly, I don't really blame them. And But seriously though, did they really need to go ahead and premiere it in IMAX theaters? Was that show necessary? Was it really necessary to even film that show in IMAX camera? That's a very expensive, that's some pretty expensive cinematography right there. So to just go ahead and use IMAX cameras and then have it premiere in IMAX theaters, which it performed terribly, by the way. Nobody really, because who the hell wants to waste money on tickets for something that they're gonna see on television later on in the month? Not even a month. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, everything about this show just screamed terrible, from the way the costumes look, and even the trailers itself looked horrible, horrible. I've never read any of the Inhumans. I know that Black Bolt is a member of it. And even then, he looks, even on the show, he looks silly. It's just, that's probably going to be the next potential flop for Marvel's TV series on ABC. Agent Carter, And we all know, as we all know, Agent Carter got canceled not too long ago, about a year and some change ago, if I'm not mistaken. And you know, they've been doing well with Netflix, and of course, Agents of Shield has been actually doing good for them as well. But this is when I saw what they had to offer for the Inhuman show, I was really not, it was just honestly underwhelmed. So I'm not the least bit surprised about this. And plus, it's being panned by quite a bit of critics online. So it's just a matter of time, honestly. But anyways, we'll see what happens. Honestly, I don't. I'm not gonna watch the show when it premieres. So don't expect me to get a review on that, because just the interest is literally not there for me. However, if you guys do like it, make sure you want to check it out and want to shoot me a comment, or anything of that nature, a message on Instagram or whatever. Hey, let me know. But that's just gonna be about it for this episode. But once again, I want to thank you guys all for riding out with me and standing ground as we all grow together on this show with me, and keep going forward as to giving you some great content, keeping you updated constantly. I love doing this show. It's a great it's great for me. It's almost therapeutic like, in a sense, because I get to discuss things with you guys that I don't normally get the opportunity to out here. But once again, thank you all for the support and for the love. I appreciate it, and stay tuned. I'll be back shortly with a brand new episode for you guys. Until then, I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. All right.